Hey guys, this is Eric Weingart with Weingart Racing. Usually I put up a video on Saturdays with an update. Well, it didn't work out, which we'll talk about in this video today. But it's Sunday, but I've got a lot going on it. So if you're unfamiliar with it or new to the channel, usually on Saturdays I do an update with all stuff happening with the shop and other progress and things. So it's never just one thing. So if there's something you're like, man, I don't really care about that, just skip forward a little bit and you'll see like something else that might interest you, because there's several things that are in this video. So bear with me as I go through all of it. We'll start off with this one. So last week, if you remember, I ended up saying, man, please say a prayer for my son. We were going to regional swim meet for my son to see if he would qualify for state. And good news, he did. He did a fantastic job. Really, really good. So I'll tell you, just proud dad moment. And again, you can skip past this, but it's not going to be very long. And unfortunately, I don't have any pictures because I am not that parent. So I know a lot of parents, when they go to different sporting events, they hold their phone out like this and they take videos of their kid the whole way. I don't ever want to watch my son through my phone. So I don't typically bring out the phone to record any of that, which is kind of bad because I don't have any memories that way. But I'm also like, I want to actually see him do it. That's just me. So occasionally I'll keep it on though. Like if I know like this is going to be good, his reaction at the end is definitely something I want to capture to keep as a moment. I'll keep it. But I don't have any clips to add in him swimming. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. I know it'd make for a better video editing, but anyway, to the point, he swam the 200 free and he did a 154 and some change. It was his new personal best. He beat his old record by about a 10th. Great. And the good news with that, remember, he had to be top 24 to make state, and in that one he was 15th overall out of the entire state. So way to go. He's going on. He gets to swim that event in state. And then the other one, because you're going to swim two individual events, was the 500. Now, his best he's ever gone is a 504, and he did it last year at state, and he hasn't done it since. So he's been like 520s, 530s throughout the year. He went a 509 about a week or so, 2 weeks ago at Bartlesville. Well, he did it at regionals. He went another 509, so he's still 5 seconds off his best. But he'll probably get that or better, beat his record when he goes to state, because he did qualify for state on that, and he qualified that one 10th. So he's 10th fastest in the state. But I can tell you right now, I know he wasn't pushing his hardest. I mean, he was pushing very hard. Don't get me wrong on that at all. But what happened is they put him in a no-time run, because for whatever reason, they didn't put a time with him, so which means he was in the slowest heat. So there was only 3 swimmers, and there's a total of like 6 lanes. And he should have been in people that are swimming about the same speed as him, but instead he was with 2 other swimmers, and they're 7 minutes, and he's 5-something. So it wasn't. I felt bad for the other swimmers because he's finishing and waiting 2 minutes for them to finally finish. But the problem with that is he has no idea how fast he's going or how slow he's going, because he's not got anybody to pace himself with. So he went a 509. He might have either been going faster than what he usually did or slower, but his board band was kind of giving him an idea where he was being. But he could definitely go faster, which we'll find out this Saturday at state. But yeah, he qualified for that. Not his best yet. He's only done it once. We'll see next week if he could beat it. I'd really like to see him beat it, and I know he would too. But this coming Saturday, or Friday and Saturday, it's a 2-day deal, he'll be there. His relays, by the way, also made state. So he made the 200 free relay and then the 400 free relay. And both those look good. His goal is to make it to finals. Top 16 make final. But he really might to make a final, which is top 8 times. So they qualify on Friday. He's going to go balls out. Hopefully he makes the top 8 so he can go to a final so he can get a medal. Although I guess he got a medal for being at regionals too, because he was the top swimmers there. He's def top 8 in both those events that he swam. So yeah. Anyway, that's him. Don't want to waste a whole lot of time if you don't care about that, but keep in your thoughts and prayers, because now it's tough. Now this will be the last high school swimming event he'll ever do in his career, is this one. He still has a club state in 3 weeks, and that's a total different deal. Those are qualified by time, so he's already got qualifying time. He's into that. Those boys are fast, because in high school state, you can only swim 2 events, period. In club state, you could swim as many as you qualify for. So the competition is harder there. But this is his last high school one. But anyway, I know it's 5 minutes of stuff, but let me go ahead to the other stuff because this is where things get a little cool. I mean, really. So thank you for waiting. Okay, for those who are unfamiliar, this is Bishop's 1976 Nova. That's my son's name. Anyway, this was supposed to be a father-son project, but he's so busy with swim that he hardly gets time to work on this. So it's been a project to get it. I want it running for him for a graduation gift, and it is running now, which we'll get to in the video. But I want him to take it down the drag strip, and this project is not like others. This is like from nothing. It had no piece of wire in it. It had nothing. It was just cage, and that's it. So what happened was, because Sunday was free then after his swimming, last Sunday what I did was I tried to see if I couldn't get it running, because I had the fuel tank and everything in it, had the Sniper EFI on it, and got it to run, and it sounded like this. Okay, so it sounds good that it's running, and it sounds, you're like, I don't even hardly hear it. Look, that's open headers. I probably should tell you more about this engine. I'm gonna try my best. Hopefully this happens. I'll put a link in the description of this video for when I made the video of this engine on the dyno, because this engine was initially built for my sister, 88 Firebird, but she said, nah, I don't really wanna mess with it. I don't wanna waste any more money. So I was like, well, it'd be perfect for Bishop's car. So this is a 350. It made 425 horsepower, 425 torque. It's got 9.8 compression ratio, hydraulic roller cam, 600 lift. I think it's like 212, 230 something duration on the exhaust. 600 lift. Sounds like really big, but it's 112 lobe separation. It has no lope at all. It was meant to be perfect idle, just nice cruise. And that's what it is. And this is not ideal cam at all. Just something mild. Still made pretty good power for what it is. So the Sniper itself, when it went on it, and it sounds great and everything, but the Sniper, because you're looking at it now like something don't make sense, because you're like, wait a minute, I see a Sniper deal there. What the hell? Well, here's what happened. And this is the 4th Sniper unit I've owned. 2 of them have done the same thing. So of the 4, 2 now have done this. What happens is it'll run and then it'll just die out of nowhere. You'll look at your screen that you have on the inside for those that thinking about this. I got my little Sniper dash there, right? And what happens is, on the screen it'll say no data, as if I unplugged everything, and it's receiving nothing, and so it will no longer run. It'll shut itself off, and then all of a sudden it gets its data back, and then it will spray a bunch of fuel at it, like it's like an initial prime target, and kill it, or that's assuming it's still running. If not, it floods it, and it will do this out of nowhere. So the video you see that I just showed you of it running, it's been running for about, I don't know, 5 or 7 minutes. Pretty good amount of time. Shut it off, restart it, because I'm like, looks like it's fixed. Everything's good. I moved some wires around, and before you say something about my wiring, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, because all you guys that defend the Snipers, and you're like, it's the wiring issue. It's the wiring issue. No, it's not. I can tell you that for sure, 100% certain. And I'll show you why. But anyway, you can start it back up, runs and dies. So how come it ran for 7 minutes with wires in the same spot, but all of a sudden when I restart it, wires in the same spot, decides it's not going to do that? Wiring issue? Sure. No, it's a Sniper issue. Something with these Snipers, they are super, 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 super sensitive to EFI or any electrical noise or at all. And this is what came off of one of them. So I took one of the Sniper modules off of the Stealth, and I kept it for a data logger, and like, I thought it didn't work. That's what's weird. See, on the Sniper, this is that the wires come out the back, which happens to be, you're right, next to all the distributor stuff. So I'm trying to keep it away, but that didn't work. The other thing I've done is the S10, by the way, currently has a Sniper on it. It works flawlessly, which is weird because everybody's like, it's just wiring issue that's causing the problem. It's weird because when I switched units, it worked perfectly. Same wires, same spots. Before you think that, let me show you this, because I don't even think people go this far with the wiring, but I did. So yes, it goes all the way back to the back. You see those wires? So you got wires like this, See how they're glued together? Like that? That one's the ignition box. That's the red and negative for it. That one right there is the your sniper. Yeah, I lubed them all the way back like this to prevent any electrical interference. They run directly to the battery. Did make a difference. I also run on the one on the S10, I run these. These are ferrite cores. What you do is these open up and you slide them and you clamp over the wire and you're supposed to put them next to here. And what these do is on the inside there's a magnet and it's supposed to dampen any electrical interference you might have so that your sniper doesn't get that and shut itself off. You're like, that sounds totally gimmicky. Computers have been using it forever. So down here on the ground, this is my computer for my flow bench. But if you look back there, see that knot on that cable right there? See it? That's a ferrite core. Same idea. So the S10 has it on. I tried putting them on this. It didn't make any difference. So whatever's on that. And I've had this isn't from the one that you just saw running. This isn't the very first one I ever bought that did the same thing. I tried doing that on this one. Didn't work. So I was getting pretty frustrated. Pretty frustrated. So what I did, I fixed it. I solved the problem. Just like I had to do on the S10 when it first didn't work right, I solved the problem. Here's how you solve the problem. In case you're wondering, how did you figure out how to figure that sniper problem out and how did you fix it to get it to work right? Well, here's what you do. What you do is you need to take your regulator. This is where my regulator was. And you need to take it off and you put on this regulator. This is the part number right there. It's a 12. I don't know if you can see it very well. There we go. 12-887. All right, you need to change that, and then, so do that first, and then what you do, this is how you solve it. Really simple. You go buy an ATM carburetor, and then you bolt it right on. And boom, starts right up, runs perfect. That's all you got to do. So follow me for more tips. That's definitely the easiest way to go. And you're like, well, how did you get your MSD distributor and all that to work? Simple, because that's a sniper coil. The MSD box is running that because I had a feeling this might happen. And my son has no idea with the car stuff and all that. So I was like, well, you know, I didn't really make it simple. And I thought the sniper would work out because it works good on the S10. I thought it was just a fluke. I had the one bad unit. Clearly that's not the case. But so I was like, the EFI would be easy for him. But no, this is truly a simple one. But in case something went wrong, I have the MSD box running the timing. I can plug my laptop into that and it runs the timing. And so it sends a signal to the sniper to get its RPM signal, but the sniper's not controlling timing on this thing. The MSD box controls it, which I can do with a laptop. So that's how I'm able to run the carburetor, and it sounds like this. Because I had the sniper dash in there, like that little cheesy one that they have. So I was trying to save money on this whole thing, even though this thing's cost a fortune as it is. But that's a sniper dash, and then that's the 3-inch handheld. Because I wanted to keep these, because it's got a GPS speedometer in here. In order to use that, you need some kind of sniper to run it. So because I removed the carburetor, this is not from the sniper unit that I was running. This is from the very first one that failed, which is weird. I disconnected it from the thing, and I've kept it since because I could use it like this. And now it's my data logger, and also now we'll run the dash. So it's connected just like the other sniper was that was into it, but the carburetor is fueling the fuel. This just feeds the gauges. Here's what's amazing. If any of these wires, and I have them all the way, I played with this just to see if it was a fluke. If you get them to touch any one of these spark plug wires, guess what? It'll do the same thing. If you keep it like this, it works fine. And here's the weird part. I think it has something to do with the fuel injecting part, because all those injector plugs are on the backside, but they're all blocked off so it can't fire or anything. But something's going on with that, because once you remove it and away from everything, it's fine. But when it's on the actual unit, it's too close. It always hears it. Anyway, but so that's all hooked up. And the reason why it's even there is the data logger, one, but two, these wires that you see here, this is all pretty much for the fans. So it looks like a mess because I'm still running more wires and I'm aluminum them all together. But these 2 relays for those fans. Those ProForm fans, these are brushless ones, they're fantastic. So I have the Delta PAG ones for my S10, and those cost an ever-living fortune. So I was like, I'll give these a shot. These move a ton of air. And what's weird is because it had it off for a while, it came on at 190 and dropped it all the way to 160 degrees. So yeah, these fans are perfect. And this radiator, when I had it in the S10, because this is the old one out of the S10, it would never do that. So those fans are amazing. Quite happy with that. But that's just the engine side. So yeah, it runs right now. That part's good. But here's something interesting, even more fascinating. So right here, like, what have you done? There was a loop, and I say was, and we'll get to that. There was a loop, a drive shaft loop that was underneath the bottom, and it was much narrower. It wasn't as big as loop as what we have here. It was underneath the drive shaft. And a customer, this is a great story. Like, I rarely get to tell you about people doing so many nice and kind things. It's pretty rare, it seems like. This is probably one of the nicer things, and I'm still shocked that it even happened. But let me explain. So if you watched the videos a few months, weeks back, a guy brought in a set of RHS 360 cast iron heads that I had ported many years ago. Again, I don't port cast iron heads anymore, so don't ask. And he asked me for pressing them up. I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, I'm doing a job here in Glenpool. And he's like, if you need some help with your son's car, just let me know. I said, well, yeah, it'd be great. I need a kind of loop here because I want something to mount the seatbelt to, because that's the stock seatbelt hole. But this floorboard, it was rusted out, so I had to put new pieces in. Well, I didn't fully weld it because I was like, there's too many holes with where the bars come through, and it doesn't feel like it'd be even all that safe, even if you were to bolt to it, because it's got too many gaps where it would be. I don't think it'd be very secure. So I wanted the belts to be bolted to the cage. So you got the bolt there, and you got the other bolt there to keep the driver or passenger secure. He said, yeah, I'll do that. I'll bend that up for you, and I'll come back and I'll do it. This is no joke. Now, this is a customer. He paid me still. So he came like Wednesday, and he bent this tube at home, brought it, and he goes, hey, mind if I put this in? I said, go ahead. And he goes, well, what other stuff you got to have to work on the car? And I was like, well, there's still brake lines I need to get done. He's like, okay. So anyway, I said, I'm gonna go back in my grinding room, just if you need something, holler. So he's like, I'll come get you and tack it up, and I'll come get you, make sure it's right. So I'm grinding in the grinding room, doing my thing, working on some 823 heads. So if you're that customer, I got the heads ported. They're done this week. Got that finished, thankfully. But anyway, I still got to do your intake. He had got this tacked in, and I said, looks fine. Just go ahead and weld it. And he goes, I guess after that I'll work on the brakes. I was like, okay. So I'll go back to grinding around those LS3 heads. And it's two hours probably go by. I'm like, dang, it takes him a long time to weld that. Maybe he messed up on something. And I didn't even think nothing out. And I get a knock on my door because my porting room's back there, and you got to knock on the door when I'm in there because I opened the door. And he goes, hey, I can't find this one fitting. And the fitting he was looking for was this one. Anyway, he's like, I can't find this fitting. And I got to thinking, what do you mean you can't find this fitting? What he had done is he had ran the brake lines all the way from the back, all the way to the front, and had them up to here. Now, you're like, so that's not that big a deal. No, you don't understand. I wish I had money to hire this guy. Because let me tell you this. He came with that tube bit right there, right? I showed him where the chop saw was, and I showed him where the welder was. He said, I'll start on the brakes after that. He didn't know where the brake lines were. He didn't know where the brake fittings were. He didn't know where my tubing cutter, my tubing bender, any of the tools were. Not a single one. And I hadn't told him where any of the stuff is. When he came out and got me 2 hours later, he had it almost all connected except for the one piece. And I thought, hell, I can't even find that stuff in my shop. How did you find it? That's what I was thinking. So he had found it was in the trunk, by the way, most of the stuff, but not all of it. He'd found where all that stuff was, got it all hooked up without ever bothering me. I was like, damn it. Damn it to hell. That guy is amazing. There's no way I could afford to pay him because his regular job, I'm sure, makes way more than any way I could ever pay him. But I was like, that's the kind of employee I want. I didn't have to tell him nothing. I could work, and he just worked. So he got the whole brake lines done. So, like, he did that, asked for that fitting. I showed him where that, because he couldn't find that one fitting. And I have to say, this one was pretty hard because I hit it where I would find it, not where others might look. But he got that, and I went back to grinding. About an hour later, he had it all done except for one plug right there that I had to order because I didn't have it. And had that all done. And he did it just because he wanted to help out my son. He just wanted to help. And he's like, boy, I'm just going to sit and watch TV. I figured I'd just come help on the car. Man, there's not many times in life you can say someone do such a nice thing for someone else, but this guy did. His name is Jamie, and he lives in Arkansas. I don't want to give away his last name. I don't know if that'd be appropriate, but if you know who he is, man, great guy. That he just put in the loop at that point. So because he had that done, I was like, well, I guess I could lower down the car because I want him to fully weld in the sliders on the cow track because I can weld, but I'm not a certified welder. He is. So I was like, better let someone else do it than me, right? So this is the first time the car gets all the way in the ground, and that's where we find other problems. So here's what happened. There's a loop underneath, and the drive shaft I got for this is a custom one, but steel, and it's 3.5 inches long or wide. Anyway, I had to put a 1/2 inch lowering block on this to get this to the right height, kind of where I wanted it here. But the problem is that helped the drive shaft loop, but the loop was too shallow. And the other thing is because it's 4/9 inch, the center is not centered. So like where the drive shaft would be is not centered in the tunnel. It's offset a little bit. So his loop was centered, and it should have been shifted over. So it was hitting. So it wouldn't hit whenever you, at this height, but if that rear ever started to separate, yeah, drive shaft hits. It could go this would go about 2.5 inches before it would hit the drive shaft and hit the loop. And the bad part is it's that whole bar that went across here. So it was a solid piece that went underneath. And I couldn't figure out a way because the sliders were meant to make that come down more to help with more. And then you have that drive shaft safety loop that's really limited in its downward progress. So what we did was we cut that out, and Jamie added this other support strap to help with this loop to make a whole piece stronger because we cut out the lower that's underneath. And this is now that piece to make it kind of solid that way, much stronger anyway. And we are still going to put a piece underneath the bottom to protect the track, but right now that cut out, and we're going to put a piece underneath the bottom just to keep it from falling. In case whatever breaks, it won't go into the track. It'll be kind of inside there. But he got that cut out. We have movement, has the sliders welded in. He's going to come back to mount the front bumper, which we're going to move this inside stuff, and he's going to make pieces to go into my stubs. And then that part's done. I'm going to have him work on the exhaust part. We're going to bleed the brakes still yet. I'm going to finish doing the wiring because I'm working on that, and that's why it looks like a disaster. Nothing's tightened yet or loomed because if something goes wrong, I don't want to have to go back and do it. Anyway, so a lot of it's really, really close to being done. What I wish now is I had a whole bunch of guys that could just show up and we could work for like half a day on a weekend or something and sand this thing, and maybe some really good body guy to come back here and take care of this crap. Because the rest of the body's not so bad, but there's some rust definitely there. And then it's not so bad through here, but this side is. This is the bad one. But anyway, it doesn't I don't want this to be a show car, and Bishop understands he didn't want it necessarily to be a show car. But I like for it to be a 20-foot car, so from like 20 foot away it looks okay. But if I could get some guys to show up, we could just start sanding. and then just throw some paint on it, I'd be okay. I'd be a happy day, because you get this done, a little bit of paint on it so it don't look hideous. Yeah, buddy. Anyway, so that's, I don't really even talk about it too much, but that's a lot of progress on this. There's a couple other things, and I know I'm going long-winded. This is the other issue. It's too low. You're like, no, man, I love that height. The rear is perfect, but this needs to come up about 1.5 inches. So these are drop spindles. So I got a hold of TRZ, because this is all TRZ stuff anyway. I'm gonna go with the standard height spindle to raise it up so I can get more height. You're like, why? It looks perfect when it's lower like that. Because the mufflers and everything on the exhaust is so low that these roads in Oklahoma suck. He wants to drive it on the street. You're gonna wipe out everything. You're gonna rip your exhaust off and a bunch of other stuff. So it needs to come up. I don't care if it handles or does worse as a drag strip. I don't want to run it over every bump. So it'll make it more level instead of pitch down so much in the front. Because the A-arms where they are okay. I wish I had more downward travel, but I don't. But the problem right now is, as it sits, you think, well, the coil springs are holding up. No, it's not. The shock. This is an AFCO big gun, which I don't even know if I could see it. You can see it worth it. Yep, there you go. They're fully collapsed. So it's actually bottomed out on the shock as it sits here. That's what's keeping it from going any lower. It's not on any bump stop. The shock it's the long travel one or something, or it's too long of a stroke. So it's collapsed all the way now, and it can't go down any further. And I wish it would come down further, but still have a height here a little bit higher. So I've got to get a different shock, and then the normal height spindle to fix this stuff. Anyway, so that's what's going on with that. And yeah, it's long-winded, sorry, but I hardly ever get to talk about it because none of this project ever seems like I made any progress till here recently. And I'm telling you now, I'm more blown away with the kindness of just, I mean, that guy Jamie that's helped on this car, that did that work, we didn't know each other even 2 weeks ago. So I guess I'm a pretty trusting guy, but I'd trust him with anything on this. So, hell of a nice guy. I got pretty lucky. Anyway, he gets that exhaust done because I'll have work on that. Man, I can work on stuff and actually get customer stuff done. People won't be pissed at me. Bishop's car gets done. But get some guys here to come work on the body stuff. We'll all sand together and figure this part out. That make it look like a decent hot rod too. So I think it's looking pretty good that he might make it out for sure to at least get his first licks down the drag strip in this. This thing's probably going to run a 12. It's 12 is where I'm probably aiming it to be. And as it is, I want him to get used to it in this fashion, and then we'll put the other engines in. So I can put in the other S10 from the engine from the S10 in this, or then throw a big block. I mean, there's plenty of stuff we can go to make it go faster. This just needs to get him practice. So anyway, there's that. Let's go on to other stuff like the small block Ford Cam Challenge and small block Ford Dyno Mule. On the small block Ford Cam Challenge, we'll start with that one first. Here's your updates. I've actually got some drop measurements for you, and I'll tell you why I don't have more stuff here in a second or what's going on with it. But what I did, so understand this clearly whenever you're one of the competitors, I put the heads on, the valves on. I brought the piston up to top dead center. So this is at top dead center. So this is the measurement from top dead center. You can use your math to calculate 10 degrees before and after. That's up to you, but I'm giving you top dead center. A good cam guy should be able to help you out and make sure you got clearance for this. This is the total amount of free drop you can have, period, at those. If you go beyond that, you're going to break my rules, because I'm giving 80 thousandths on intake clearance and 100 thousandths on exhaust clearance with this measurements. You've got 280 thousandths, so 0.280 on intake. That's how much measurement you have. That's free drop. So valve movement, period, and still have 80 thousandths clearance on the intake, you have 280. On the exhaust, you have 260. That's 100 thousandths clearance. So the exhaust total valve movement at top dead center with 100,000 clearance is 260. That's what you got. So help for those. Here's what's happening with those. I don't know if I mentioned in the last video or not, but I got so busy with everything else, I'd finished one of the ports, so I sent it off to Chris Straub, and I sent him the heads, both of the heads, and I had ported that one. I said, go ahead and digitize this head and cut the others. It just saves me time because I'm so wrapped up in everything else trying to get stuff done. Because I can't even work on my own son's car. I'm just trying to keep up with customer stuff. So he's doing that. And both of us will end up selling that head because someone said, you should sell those. Well, guess what? We both are. So that program, after the competition, or maybe before, I don't know how, probably after, because I prefer to wait till after, so I don't have people trying to cheat. But after that, both of us will sell that head. It'll be my port design. You buy it from Chris Straub and you buy it from me. I think we're both going to charge the same. It's 258 cc's. You can see all the specs if you donate to the Ford Cham Challenge, and that link to donate will be in this video too. So look in the description. There'll be a link to donate, and you can look at all the flow numbers and stuff for that. So we'll both be selling them. I don't know what that price will be, so don't ask me yet, because I don't even know what the castings run bare, unported. But he'll have that. But I also sent him this. This is not related to the Cam Challenge, but do you guys remember the Brodix DN9 heads that I had? These are big block Chevy heads. Well, I had ported an intake and exhaust port, and 2 intakes and 2 exhaust ports in the chambers. And they'd been sitting here for like 2 years. And I kind of just lost interest because I was like, well, I don't really want to spend all this money for this digitizing and stuff and whatever. So I talked to Chris and I was like, hey man, I can't stand to have these just sitting here. You want to work out some kind of deal with the CNC stuff? And we worked out a deal. So he's also going to sell that DN9 head of mine. But I'll warn you before you get like, oh my God, this is probably the baddest thing ever. No, I made it. That's my first DN9 head to port. I'll start by saying that. If I had another one, I probably would do things a little differently. But it's good. I think it's really good. But it's not going to be, I wouldn't say it's the best. So yeah, it's a good port, but it's just like a medium size. It's not small, it's not large. So on both the benches, it flows similar. It's like 575. You're like, wait a minute. That's what all Brodix says they flow. Well, none of the Brodix stuff flows what they claim on my bench. So it flows about what Brodix claims, but it's probably 20 CFM better than what they have. But there's no way near, I'm going to tell you right now, nowhere near the best of the best that's out there. Because if you move some of the spacing and stuff like what Matt does, I can see how you get to flow more. But yeah, it's good. I just don't think it's the best. If I did more R&D time with it, I probably would. And you're like, well, why didn't you? Because there's no market for it. So like Matt and some of the other ones that have customers that will spend $35,000 on a top end kit. Yeah, but I ain't got my customer, and I love my customers, but not very many of them have $35,000 just to blow. So this will be perfect, I think. And I also, the other thing, I don't really design it necessarily for a 632, even though it'll probably work fine on that. I know it will. It's more for like a 582 low deck deal. So yeah, 575 CFM, 582, you're gonna make some steam. But anyway, Chris has that, and we'll both be offering to sell that as well. I don't imagine I'll be selling all that many anyway, because I didn't do a best job just trying to sell it right now. I'm like, hey, it's not the best thing out there, but it's pretty damn good. People are like, I want the best. I want the pretty good. But no, I think it'll run. So I'll eventually probably put it on one of my stuff that I use for the mule, but that's also got sent off. Now for the small block Ford Dyno mule. This is different than the Cam Challenge. Let me show you this. I do have a small block Ford 408 Dyno mule that I'm trying to get to the dyno next. But I just been busy, like I said. But here's the heads for it. And you can order these heads. I'll sell you a set of heads just like this. So this is, it's not something super special, but anyway. These are, they don't have Pro Max written on them, but I got it from the same place that gets them. Except for these ones have 8mm valves, and you order the Pro Max ones, they're 11/32, but these are their Project X heads. Same thing. But these are 205 heads. that you would get from ProMax, or like the place where I got them. So for my place has 8mm guides, so I can run 8mm valves. What I did is I redid the valve job. So this is like the basic port work that I charge for. This is usually 800 bucks. So what it does is I redo the valve job. I do just like you see here with the bowl. Just a little blending. And then on the exhaust side, redo the valve job obviously, but then I'll blend it all the way in. And then I redid the chamber because there'll be a little lip here. Did all that, and then I just refloated. These are 208 valves, 1600 valves, 205 cc intake runners. They're pretty good. It goes 249 at 400 lift. This is on a 430 board, by the way. And then this is the weird one. It's 292 at 600. It's really fluctuating within that area. And this is like one of those things where, man, and I know this because ProMax actually has a CNC port program for this that I did for. So it's like 225 cc's that I've done. So I took this head and I fully ported it. It flows a little bit more than this, but it's way more stable. But it went like 305. This one goes 291, and it's not stable there at 600. But look, it really climbs after. So it goes 314 at 700, 316, 317, 317. It's pretty good. If you're wondering where do they flow stock, 292. Right there is what they flow stock. So doing this little work, it did pick on about 20 CFM at 700 lift. We're gonna have probably about a 700 lift cam in this thing anyway. But much better there. The exhaust side really picked up too. 191 at 400, that's really good. And then 219. That's no real grinding, that's just basic stuff. So these will be assembled. I'm going to do a skim cut on the deck surface, or not. Probably won't actually. Screw it, I'll just run them. But I'm gonna assemble them with the 700 lift springs, titanium retainers, and these are good to go. I gotta get the phone numbers off to Daniel Powell though, because he's gonna do me a cam for this thing. And we'll start having some numbers on that soon. Another viewer sent in a dual plane to test on it too, but that's great. So I can see between, if you got a 351 Windsor, especially a single plane manifold you'd like to see me test, I would love to test it. The only one I've got is the Jegs one, and it's not, I don't think it's gonna be all that great. So I like to test it on this. What I need to do on Monday, tomorrow, is I need to order the Cleveland style dyno headers, because I've got the adapters to go on this. And then that should be good to go. We can start making runs on that. Hopefully I can get these assembled this week. At least that part will be done. Then I can put them on the engine, bolt those on, and start making some progress on that mule. Because I really would like to get on the dyno. I haven't been on the dyno in 2 months. It feels weird. And most of you are like, I liked your videos better when you're on the dyno. Me too. But busy in the shop. And here's the thing. This week I got sick. So I was sick from Tuesday all the way till pretty much Friday. I didn't have any energy, like none. So I had a little bit of a sinus thing, but not bad. But man, I don't know what it was, but it took every bit of energy out of me. Every bit. It was bad. Don't recommend. The chills, it wasn't good. So it was a long week, and I worked still every day, but it was just a fight. So that's why things be like, you didn't answer my phone calls. Well, I was ill. So I wasn't answering a call when I just wasn't doing it. So anyway, yep, that's what's going on there. And pretty much the story of this week. So anyway, guys, remember next Friday and Saturday, it's state time for swimming for my son. Keep up, I'll try to keep you up to date on more of this stuff as it happens. Oh, wait a minute. I do want to show you this. Because you talk about big things that happened, this is huge. This is pretty big news, and I can't believe I almost forgot about it. A huge, huge thanks goes out to Summit Racing. Summit Racing has really helped on all these Cam Challenge stuff. And I mean, huge, huge help. And I'm so thankful because they really help with this part. And this is gonna make things far more interesting. This is for the small block Chevy Cam Challenge. I almost have more parts for that than the Ford. But anyway, they sent the manifold. This is the manifold that's gonna be used on the small block Chevy Cam Challenge. You're like, wait a minute, that's not a carburetor. That's not blow through. You're right. This is the Holley's new high ram for the small block Chevy. So This is the top that's going to be ran on it. We're going to put the throttle body in. Remember, the small block Chevy is going to have a power adder. We're going to have the Vortex supercharger on it. But Summit was nice enough to send that. And they also sent the Holley EFI injectors go with it. These are 220 pound per hour injectors. These are for the, we're going to run on E85. And that particular challenge, we're on NA, and then 5 pounds of boost and about 10, 15 pounds of boost, somewhere in that range. These are the heads I've already talked about that we're running with it. So my Brodix Dragon Slayers, CNC ported, they're bad to the bone. This thing's gonna make it really good fun. There should be a 421. I'm still waiting for SCAT to come through with the rotating assembly. Once that's here, because we already have the block that also came from Summit, and that's at Coons. So once the rotating assembly gets here, they can finish doing that part because they're gonna build the thing. I can put the heads together, although I'm probably gonna order a whole new set because I forgot on this particular set, I put a 3/8 bolt hole here because it made the port itself less restrictive, have that stud through there. But usually that's not how they come from the factory. They have a 7/16. So I might order an identical head to this and just do the same work, except for the 7/16 hole, just to give it more strength for boost. But I may not, because actually on the S10, come to think of it, I have 3/8 through here. So maybe I won't. I'm debating it. But anyway, that one, either way, I can have a set of heads pretty easy for that. But yeah, that was huge. This thing's gonna be so much fun. And here's my plan for that. After we get done doing the cam challenge, I already have the Torque Storm supercharger, the small, or the bigger one. I'm gonna test it against the Vortex to see how much one makes more power. If by some miracle I can get Vortex to maybe send a set or have someone that's got one that I could try, like one of the F1A94s, I could compare it to all 3 of the superchargers and see how it compared on the motor. That to me would be fun. After the cam challenge, this engine's going in the S10. We're gonna see how much, I'm out of cage for sure on the S10, but I'm gonna give it one shot. We'll just see how fast it truly can go. And then probably gonna, I don't know if I wanna add more bars or not, or just really back it down. But yes, cool. Or it could go into, well, maybe even by then, that point, Bishop's Nova will be fast enough and we could throw that in there. He'll be used to the speeds by that point, maybe, I hope. And we can see what happens. This has plenty of cage. But anyway, huge thanks to Summit. So a lot happened this week, and I'm super, super grateful. A lot of, man, thanks to a lot of people. So anyway, guys, I'm no Superman. I don't port cast iron heads. I did raise Superboy. You guys take care.